All right. So, in light of Holy Week, so Holy Week is gonna start next week, and I could be wrong. I completely butcher dates, but I do want to talk about spiritual journeys, and I'll start with mine. So, it's a spiritual journey that actually spanned my whole life, 2.5 decades or more. So buckle up, guys. This is because this is gonna be interesting. So, and while I wait for more people to join in and for me to actually check places where I won't see comments, I just also want to talk about that. Spiritual journeys. Each and every one of us go through our version. So Christ went through his in in his form is that from godhood to man to resurrection and back, right? Muhammad to his own, Buddha from being the son of a chief to becoming a beggar to becoming a merchant uh, to becoming a father to and until eventually he became a ferryman, right? Or another Buddha who was the son of a king of a great kingdom who chose to let go of riches to serve, right? So there's a lot. There's also a spiritual journey that you go through if you dedicate yourself to one thing in your life, like what Miyamoto Musashi experienced with swordsmanship, right? For his entire life, he just focused on swordsmanship, and it came to a point where he became a sword saint, right? Someone who has so much wisdom that emperors even use him as a consultant. So, all right, so that's pretty much it. Now, buckle up. So, what was my spiritual journey for 2.5 decades? So, I was born a Roman Catholic. So, I was baptized as one. I can still remember my Hail Marys. I can memorize Our Father, and I can generally appreciate, well, I still appreciate Roman Catholic churches in terms of architecture up until now. So I was born there, and I was enrolled in schools, at least in elementary school, where they would have volunteers every now and then join us for class. And in this class, they would actually teach the Bible, stories about the Bible, but um, and some of these stories were mainstream, right? David and Goliath, Solomon, Moses, Christ, very mainstream stories that you would probably hear if you grew up in a Catholic environment. However, one thing I have noticed though is that while I was in this environment, I was also exposed, luckily, to the Divine Comedy of Dante Alighieri. Very young, elementary school. Surprisingly, though, I was exposed by a video game, um, which is the Dante's Inferno. I was exposed to the Divine Comedy because of a video game. So after being exposed to that, I started reading about the Divine Comedy and realized that, huh, this is a very interesting thing. So there are there are levels to hell, and the lowest level is reserved for um, traitors, right? The biggest sin, and it's not fire, it's ice. It's ice that's so cold that it burns you, right? Because of Satan's wings flapping around and all of that stuff. So that's where I started getting exposed into something else, right? Outside of Roman doctrine or Catholic doctrine, uh, I began to read other sorts of literature, and I was able to compare. Okay, so the seven deadly sins. Why the heck are they teaching the seven deadly sins if it's not in the Bible? They actually got it from the Divine Comedy, and it's interesting. Now, at that age as well, I've also begun to realize that they've started weaponizing religion. So they started using heaven or hell as a form of threats for people. And, at that point, I was also one of the fanatics where um, it was all black and white, right? Good people go to heaven, bad people go to hell, etc., etc. Now, so yeah, right. People have weaponized. Uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Religion, and of course, I've begun to wonder. Okay, at that age, is is God really God, or is it just something human beings made up, right? So, but luckily, I met a few good friends of mine. There's Michael Barcelona, and if you're watching this, I just want to show appreciation to this guy because he actually um, was my classmate in elementary, who actually invited me to his church, and that was my first exposure to born again Christianity. And now things got interesting. Okay, holy crap. So if Roman Catholicism worship form of worship is more solemn, more ceremonial, and some people prefer that, at that time I preferred the born again way because it felt more, what's the word I'm looking for, it felt more raw. It felt more real. In my case, they use music um, and altered states to to worship God. In their case, right? Now, the only reason why I'm not a born again Christian is that at the time, my family is a diehard Catholics, and they don't want people to change religion. So, very interesting. Um, they don't want they don't care where you go so long as you don't change the, the religion that I was born in. So, which was interesting. Um, but what's the word I'm looking for? But this is where I think my true faith and relationship started until it stopped, right? So basically, I've been to like three born again churches and have never I love their sense of community, but I've never converted to that. So, which is interesting. Um, I've also noticed that not every born again um, church is the same. Some are more strict than others. Some are more, what's the word I'm looking for? Some are more open than others, right? So not every place is made equal. Now, what's interesting is that eventually, after all those phases, there's also what we call the emo phase. So the emo phase is the phase in my life where I actually became an atheist, right? From believing in a God to outright, what's the word I'm looking for? To outright challenging the authority of God. So atheism is, I've been there for a while, maybe 10 years, And atheism, for what's the word I'm looking for most people, it's just, it could mean different things for some people, but for me, I don't believe at that time. I didn't believe in a higher being. I believed in science and facts. So things had to be backed up by science, data, and facts for it to be real. And it really boiled down to the fact that people, the most, some, well, not really all, but majority of the religious people that I met at the time were also the most um, judgers, if that's the word. They judge people, criticize people, they gossip, right? They they bring people down, etc., etc. So I'm like, why would I believe in something that has created a community that doesn't what's the word I'm looking for, that doesn't nourish its members? Okay? So very interesting. So that's where atheism became cool, right? So from here on, I would read spiritual or philosophical books that, that basically feed on the ego, right? Feed on the ego, where God is I am God, in a way. So I even still use it as a joke. So that point in my life is where the biggest ego moment has come. So I did not believe in a higher being. I believed in I, you know, um, lowercase I. For those of you who, and you know what, I'm gonna create a banner. Okay. Nope. Can I do a lowercase I? Yun. Yun. Okay. For this, right? So no higher power, just I. And that's where I also, unfortunately, is the time where I learned about other concepts like spirituality in terms of meditation, in terms of energy management. So now, from atheism and the strong belief in ego, in I, it came to a point now. It changed towards energy, you know, law of attraction. Whatever you believe, conceive, and achieve. Whatever you believe and put your focus on, you will achieve, you will earn. Okay. So, and it's worked for a time. It's worked very well, honestly. So I was able to get results as early as 16. As early as 16, in my early 20s, I was able to physically manipulate my environment in such a way where, and by manipulate I mean like, think magic bullshit, okay? Not manipulate as in psychologically manipulate my environment, okay? So I was able to manipulate my environment and attract things that I actually like, until it came to a point where I remember specifically, maybe last year or maybe 2 years ago, where imagine, just imagine, right? What would happen if you get everything that you want in your early 20s? Okay? Almost anything that you want. In my case, what would that be? It would be properties, it would be money, it would be the ability to travel, it would be the company, beautiful company, if you know what I mean, etc., etc. Okay, so I was able to achieve so many of those things, yet at the same time, it felt like nothing. It felt like nothing at all. Imagine And imagine that, right? Achieving everything you ever wanted when you were young, and by the time you achieve everything, it actually felt like nothing. So that's the entire scenario when it happened. Uh, Luckily, um, and of course, from there on, I've come to realize, okay, you know what? Maybe I need a break, right? Maybe I need to become, something else, to actually start embracing higher power, start embracing um, energy and all of that. So from ego, I started seeking light, seeking source. My friend Royce would call it essence. Um, for me, it was meaning, right? I was looking for meaning in life. What what is all of this for, basically? So from ego to light, how the heck am I gonna, transition from that? And luckily, I've met. I'm lucky enough to be able to meet the right people at the right time, because I also tried going back to church. Right, when I went back to church, everything was very problematic. Right, if going, I can't go back to becoming a Roman Catholic anymore. The reason why is that I know the history of Christianity in terms of the church. The Spain has weaponized the cross to rule the Philippines for 300 centuries. Sorry, 3 centuries, uh, 3.5 centuries. Uh, we have seen the church protect pedophiles, etc., etc. And I can't converse with just any pastor right now. So there has to be a certain balance in not just, I need to see spirituality not in people who are in that profession, etc., etc. So luckily, during the times where I needed it the most, I met another friend. Her name is Yana. She actually brought me into this program. It's called Unbounded. And right now, it's kind of sad because Unbounded is is one of the few programs where I could say that it's changed my life or saved my life. But people can't experience it anymore, at least in the way I have, because the lead facilitator just died quite recently. So that's something. And it's also, and from that guy, the facilitator, Coach Bam, I learned a phrase called grace, you know, and it's something I'm still trying to comprehend up until now. From there, things even got weirder, you know. It got even weirder, from ego, like energy, taking control of your life, to like finding source. and when do you not take, and when do you allow things to just happen? Okay, when do you take, and when do you just allow things to happen, or trust in light and source to just happen for you? So how the heck can you manage that? So there's this concept that I learned. It's called merging your intentions, wants, and goals, and trusting that your wants, goals, and and what sort of intention is gonna lead somewhere, is guided by something, right? And you're basically gonna merge it with universal intention as well, um with that. So boom, you merge your intention with cosmic forces, and you make things happen. So, and that's where majority of our activities are lined up now. So, and it's crazy because it has allowed us to create, what's the word I'm looking for? It has allowed us to create results that are otherwise um, that are otherwise not possible on our scale. Okay, so for example, we have provided jobs for people in marginalized communities, and right now we're creating movements that merge both spirituality and technology into one. So I'll end with that. Okay, not trying to preach you anything, but this has been my personal journey, spanning 2.5 decades on spirituality. So, and I hope you picked up something from there. And who knows, right? Whatever you picked up, I want to know. Drop in the comments. So yeah,